Welcome, everybody, to the PHDJ podcast. My name is Mike.
Yes, sir. It's Joe Bunn.
What is going on, Joe? How are you?
It's another beautiful Wednesday.
That's right. Well, when this drops, it'll be a Thursday, so let's try not to place the
set up.
Yeah. I went to see Beck last night.
Oh, I saw that.
So I'm actually a little tired right now because it was a late night, maybe one too many beers. But
and you didn't shave.
And I didn't even shave. That's right. But dude, I know I was gonna say the opening act blew him away, but it's actually a co-headlining tour with Cage the Elephant.
Yeah, I know them.
Dude, I was not aware. Matt Schultz is their lead singer. He is a maniac on stage. I mean, jumping all over the stage, strutting. He's got a uber confidence to him. And I mean, there was a gap in between them and Beck. And I just said, I don't know if you're Beck. I don't know why you want to follow that. And he really couldn't. I mean, Beck was great. He did a good job. Very short set, greatest hits, kind of all upbeat. And I left there saying, yeah, Cage the Elephant.
Oh, damn. I think they're coming through here, maybe it is with Beck. Like, I think they're making their way down from Jersey to here.
If you have a chance to see that show, man, I would recommend it. I mean,
100%.
I've made the point often that lead singers, we should, as MCs, kind of watch lead singers for their, for their craft and how they work the crowd. And I'm not saying that a lot of what Matt Schultz does is applicable at a wedding, because you'd be stealing the show literally from the bride. But you want to talk about confidence, and I mean, he had the entire crowd in the palm of his hand. It was amazing.
I love guys like that, man. It was incredible. And they never phone it in. It wouldn't have mattered if there was 25 people there or 2,500.
Well, listen, I don't know. I've only seen them once, and last night, I mean, maybe this guy just had the most unbelievable night of all nights. I don't know why that would be.
Good drugs, maybe.
It was in New Jersey. It wasn't in sometimes New York City or a big city, a band might rise to an occasion, but he was playing in Homedale, New Jersey. So it's not like it's not his hometown. So I don't see why. I'm sure last night was
probably one of those guys, man. It's one of those guys. They never phone it in. Like, I've seen like Pat Monahan from Train on various stages of his career, including when he went solo. And I promise you, this was after they had blown up. And then before, it was between like Drops of Jupiter and Hey Soul Sister, he went on a solo tour. I mean, there weren't 15 people in this place one night. And I promise you, he brought it as if it was Madison Square Garden, and then even came out in the crowd afterwards and took pictures.
Yeah. Wow.
And they were a big band at that time. Like, they had already won a Grammy and everything. Like, it's great.
Yeah. That's cool. So we are recording. We've been doing a lot of pre-recording. This one is we're recording this on Wednesday. It's going to drop tomorrow. So we're kind of caught up. DJ Times was last week, which we'll talk about. But first, I know you saw the news, and probably a lot of other listeners saw the news.
Yes.
We had an incident. When I say we, I mean people in New Jersey, because it had nothing to do with Elite Entertainment, but I'm going to get to that in a second.
Where exactly was it, Mike? Do you know?
It's at a place called the Venetian, which is about an hour north of me. Real high-end facility, very Italian, Greek-looking.
I know the place. I've seen y'all post pictures.
And I've done some weddings there. So apparently there was a DJ company there, and they
know who they were.
Yeah, I do. We'll get to that in a second. Right. Well, I shouldn't say I know. I've heard. I've been told. So I'll couch it with that. I don't want to spread any bad rumors. But, so there was an incident with their CO2 cannon, and from what I've heard, it was probably dropped by whoever was operating it, and the thing snapped off the handle or whatever, which causes it, because there's great pressure in those things, caused it to kind of flip and wig, and people were injured. I don't think anyone was majorly injured. I heard 3 people were taken to the hospital, but I don't think anyone was critical or anything like that. But obviously it made the local news. I sent you the article, but I don't know. Is it something that made the news down by you?
You know what, Mike? It's funny because, I approve all the posts for the members only Facebook group,
Okay.
And people kept sending it to me and it seemed to be from different sources. I don't know that it made quote unquote the local news. I mean, down here, in other words.
Right. I think if there had been a fatality, it probably would have made more nationwide news.
100%.
So there is a company in North Jersey called Elite Sounds Entertainment. And obviously people get us confused all the time. I've spoken to the owner. They started about 10 years after Elite Entertainment. There's nothing I can do because the word sounds in there. They're distant enough. He claims that he didn't know we existed, which I'll take him on his word, but that just tells me he didn't do his due diligence because he said, I wish I didn't have the same, so close to, anyway, blah, blah, blah. So I've heard that it was them.
I got you.
So if it was them, listen, I feel bad for any company now because he's probably going to get sued and it could be a major thing, especially if those injuries were, pretty serious. I don't like the fact that people are going to hear Elite Sounds and go, was that, I've already had one person on Facebook reach out. Was that your company? And I was like, no, it's not. So for any of our listeners, it wasn't our Elite Entertainment. If I've gotten the news correctly, it was a company called Elite Sounds Entertainment and two different companies. So like I said, I feel bad for them. It sounds like they're going to have some bad PR to deal with. And I also wonder if that's going to put the kibosh on this as an upgrade. If banquet halls are now going to start banning this.
That was where I was going. I was like, are you going there with this? In other words, where are we leading this? Does this lead you to pause, Mike? Does it lead you to want to take it off your pricing sheet? Does it?
Be honest with you, Joe, and this is my own lack of due diligence, to use that term again. I never realized this could be as dangerous if there was a mistake made or something like that. Now that I know that, I have to do some serious, I looked immediately into how many we have booked coming up in the future. Yeah. And I'll probably, assuming that those clients don't cancel it, because we might get an influx of calls saying, "Hey, take that off our contract." Yeah. I might just say, let's not book that any further. Let's not showcase. When we do our private shows, we usually show it. Yeah. I'll probably take it out of that because the last thing I want is people thinking, that's a reckless company. So I don't know. I don't know the future of CO2s, but I think it was something you and I should have, needed to discuss on this. And I don't really have a resolution yet, but it's something that's going to be out there, and especially in the tri-state area.
Mike, before we go to talk about the expo, this kind of leads me to start thinking, because we don't have them. We do have one of those CO2 cannons. I don't think we've booked it. I've given it to some.
Is there anyone in your market that's showing it?
Not really. Okay. No. So I got it on a special sale that they had one day, and just kind of knew it would make for some cool social media. And, I've literally given it to 2 or 3 brides that I had this mentality, like, this girl is perfect for this thing. Right. And gotten some amazing imagery from it and content, but I have yet to actually take money for it. I don't know that it's really a thing down here, but it leads me to the sparkulars or the indoor spark canisters. Like, is this next? Does this become another issue like, with that nightclub that burned in Connecticut?
There's already a few banquet halls by us that don't allow those. Really? There are others that only allow, I think you have to show your certification, which I think that makes sense. To me, that's similar to, you have to have a $2 million liability insurance, because that's gonna weed out the posers, if you will, or the amateurs. Sure. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I've literally put my hand over those sparklers, and there's no flame, there's no fire, there's no quote unquote spark. But if I owned a banquet hall, I might say no to those too. I understand banquet halls like that erring on the side of caution. Sure. I get it.
Yeah, especially for people like us, you play down here and every building looks like this,
it's a barn. Yeah.
Barn wood that's 150 years old and is basically made out of ashes. Like, right. It's, I agree. I've seen the demo too. People put their hands right over it and it's not hot and it doesn't burn them, but damn, I don't know. I can see them, us walking in with them and they'd be like, no. Absolutely not. I walked in with that CO2 cannon one time and they thought it was a fogger. And I
think you've told that story. And then last night, Cage the Elephant, they had not only fire shooting up when they walked on stage, they had like a wall of fire.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I went with a friend of mine and I said, I want that as my facade next weekend. I want the fire facade, you know?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, obviously sometimes things that catch your eye might not be the most
right.
the safest things in the world. What are you going to do? You know?
Yeah. Oh man, that's nuts.
So it was good seeing you last week in Atlantic City. You rock star flew in, flew out for one day. That was kind of cool.
I promise you, I was having FOMO of missing out because I had that corporate event on Tuesday, but right. I kept seeing everybody's posts on Monday and Tuesday, and I felt like I missed some really cool stuff and content and that BPM Supreme party. And anyway, but it was awesome seeing you, man. I got an impromptu introduction from Mike. I actually saw him earlier in the day. So the only seminar I saw, Mike, was Spinelli and Rachel Lynch.
Right, which they did. NJDJN sponsored that seminar, right. And they had them talking about social media, and it was really good. Pretty spot on, yeah. And those two, I think, have kind of both carved out little niches for themselves as experts in that field, and you know, not only talk about marketing themselves or talk about marketing, but they've done it themselves. Like they are the shining examples. Because 2 years ago, I don't think I knew Nick Spinelli because he had competed in the DJ of the Year a few years ago, but I mean, he wasn't really on my radar as, to use the term nowadays, influencer. Yeah. I don't even think I'd heard of Rachel Lynch 2 years ago, and yet now they're two very prominent names, especially if if you're on social media. So kudos to them. They not only talk the talk, but they walk it as well.
They backed it up. I agree. Yeah. Definitely didn't know. I knew Spinelli a couple of years ago, and Rachel just within the past year. So yeah. It's just it proves the power, guys. Proves the power.
So I would say that seminar that you got to witness was one of the highlights. I would say yours was too, man. I loved the rapid fire, just a bunch of good tips, good, efficiency. Joe did what was it called?
The Art of Efficiency.
The Art of Efficiency. And if you know Joe, and I've had the chance to do the workshops with him, so I kind of know how particular he is about setting up neatly and quickly and everything else. And so Joe also walks the walk on that. And I thought it was great. I saw a bunch of people. Nowadays I made this point on social media. Back in the day as a speaker, you knew you made a great point when you saw heads go down and notes being written. Nowadays, you make a great point when people hold their phones up.
Yeah.
Screenshot, because nobody writes notes anymore. Most people take screenshots of something they're interested in. And I mean, I was looking around your room. That probably happened 10, 12 times throughout your seminar. People were like, oh, I got to take a screenshot of that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
You probably sold some of those products that you were promoting.
Yes, they definitely sold out of rock and rollers on the trade show. All the carts were gone. Like not one cart was left.
No, I tried to get, I need a new one because my wheels are falling off. And that's a knock on rock and roller. But I've had this thing probably for 20 years.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. And then I was happy with my seminar. I was happy on day one. They had me kick off. So I had that enviable time slot where nothing else was up against me.
Right.
So I had a pretty packed room and the feedback. That was the Why People Dance seminar, which I think is my last time doing. I don't have any other bookings for that on the future. So I had it recorded. Tom and Chris Monaco were down there with video, and I'll be making that available soon.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I was going to say, I'll fly you down here and you can, we'd be glad to record it for the DJ's Vault members. That was the first thing I said. And then you said you were recording. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But I did hear you were awesome, Mike. I have, to be fair to everybody, I didn't miss it intentionally. Like I said, I had a show, and I've seen Mike do it at Mobile Beat and in Tennessee. And, it's one of my favorite things you've done, man. It's just, it's full of just things that you don't know about, from the psychology to music history to, little clips. And when you were kind of strutting around doing that Prince thing, I don't know. It's just it's really well done. And
thank you.
And it's, again, man, it just speaks to how good Mike is, because I think it's like an hour and a half, which I can't.
I actually went a little bit longer. I didn't have anybody up against me, so I went a little bit longer than 90 minutes this in Atlantic City. And and that's kind of flying towards the end. I'll tell you, one of the things, again, I've come to learn when I put up a list of songs, like I put up a list of my doors, so every hand goes up to take a picture. And I've had a few people message me, hey, man, I built a new crate of Doors Open songs, and thank you for that. And I'm like, just just call it the Mike Walter Doors Open mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me some credit. And then you weren't there for the Entertainer of the Year competition.
No,
so
I was.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Remember,
that's right. You said you were in the room. I didn't see you, but you didn't stick around for the end.
I did not. I saw about we had like a little vault meetup. There was about 30, 40 guys, and it was taking too long. And so I just was like, I'll pay for a round of drinks. Let's go to this thing. I promised Mike I would. I promised everybody I would. And it was a collective group. We walked outside. There was a limo bus. I was like, $5 a head, done. I paid the guy. He drove us down the street. And I was like super excited because we were in a limo bus, and I start cranking up the music. And then all of a sudden, it didn't even get to the end of the song.
It's a 2-minute drive, dude.
Like, oh, dude, I didn't know it was this close. But anyway, so we stayed. I stayed, Mike, for about 3 or 4 people. And then I think the group stayed till the end, group. But cool. I was beat, man. I'd gotten up at 4 that day,
So we should just address the fact, because it was an incident that happened in our industry. They had a little bit of a, I know Jake is calling it a La La Land moment or a Steve Harvey moment. There were actually 2 different moments, because that night they went to announce the winner, and this is where I think, there were mistakes made with the people who were adding stuff up in the back, and that's an issue that Jake needs to deal with. But the thing that I think Jake can learn as an MC is since he's took over from me, he's done this thing where he gets the top 5 on the stage, and then eliminates, this person's in 5th, this person's in 4th, this person's in 3rd. So now he's got 1 and 2, and he says, I have the winner in my pocket. I haven't even looked at this piece of paper, so I don't even know yet. So that's a clever little thing that he's done. But the problem with that is when he pulled that piece of paper out, and at that point he had Artem and Cliff on the stage, and apparently that piece of paper said Josh. So what he was now looking at as the winner wasn't one of the 2 people standing next to him. So lesson learned as an MC, you don't need to be surprised.
Yeah.
You don't have to surprise. Like, nobody in the room cares that you don't know the answer. We don't know that. We want to find out the answer.
Right.
But so Jake is now caught, and I feel horrible for him. He's caught in this where he literally, I think on the microphone, he went, "That's impossible." And he walked off the stage to find out what was going on. And in this regard, I give his co-MC, Micah Livris, so much effing credit, because if I was in his shoes, I think I might have followed Jake off the stage and said, let me go figure it. But Mike stalled for 2 solid minutes, and everyone in the room knew he was stalling, but he did it. He was like, I'm sure Jake is just trying to add drama to the moment. Let's have a big round of applause for these 2. And he just kept talking, and I'm like, man, give Mike, tip a cap to him, because
Mike did. As soon as it was, he pulled that thing out and he said that, did you know something was like incredibly wrong?
Everyone did.
Yeah, I was wondering how your heart felt.
My heart felt horrible for him.
Yeah.
Listen, Jake's a friend of mine.
Yeah, I like Jake.
He was a guest at my wedding. And even if he wasn't, I'm not here to kill Jake. It was an honest mistake. And then what happened, and then it turns out, so they announced.
Okay, so now fast forward a little bit.
Night, and then the next morning.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. So I just want to make sure I got this right. So that night, though, so he can finish the story, because everybody
Jake
that
comes
went
back up on stage and says, I forget exactly what he said, but he brings Josh now up to be part of the top 3, and then says Artem was in 3rd, Cliff was in 2nd, Josh is the winner. So Josh gets a plaque, and I mean, to be honest with you, at that point, most of the people had left the room, and the people who hadn't, I think, were so kind of dismayed. I mean, Josh got the weakest round of applause I've ever heard.
No, I heard you were in there hyping people up, like, give him a round of applause.
I felt so bad for Josh at that point, thinking that, because ultimately he wasn't the winner, but in that moment, I was like, come on, guys, let's hear I felt so bad for the kid. I mean, I've never seen anybody get an award and people be like, psh, and start walking away. It wasn't fair to him.
All right, can I time out real quick again? I'm sorry, because I also I thought I saw a picture the next morning of Marcello, who's a friend of ours, and then that guy Cliff, and it said he was the winner.
No, if you go back and look at Marcello's post, he basically, Cliff, a lot of people in the room felt Cliff should have been the winner, and Cliff definitely felt like he should have been the winner. And I actually shared the cab back with him. He was really distraught. He was really upset. And I think if you go back and look at the way Marcello worded that, he said like an award worthy or
I'm sorry, okay,
something like that. So I think he was just being very kind to Cliff. And listen, I would agree with that verbiage. I think at the end of that performance, at the end of the night, I felt like Cliff should have been the winner.
Okay,
but if he wasn't going to win, Artem should have won.
Okay, so now let's fast forward to the next day.
So then that apparently
that night,
after the competition, Jake and Mike went back to their room and looked at these scorecards and realized that there had been an adding mistake or a math mistake or something by their scorekeeper, which 15 years my parents did it. And it's one of those things I never thought to myself about how proud I was that my parents never had a mistake like that. And then I never had a mistake like that on stage. But after this, I feel pretty proud of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never had a, call it whatever you will, shit show kind of moment like that. My parents never made an adding mistake like that. And they were also a lot faster. And this is something else I've shared with Jake. Even last year when they got it right, it was 25 minutes after the last performance was over. I used to have that winner ready 10 minutes after. Sure. And I know because there were Johnny K was usually my filler act after the performance, after the last performance. And I would literally have to kick him off stage. And he'd be like, Mike, I've only been up here for 10 minutes. I'm like, yeah, but I'm ready to announce the winner. Like, this isn't about you. It's about the winner of the competition. And so I think, Jake, whatever he needs to do next year, he's got to speed that process up. He's got to have that winner quicker. And then obviously.
So, 100%. Mike, so let's keep going with the story.
So what happened is, I know I keep taking 10.
I know. I'm sorry.
So they realized there was an adding mistake and they brought Josh, Cliff, and Artem to Jake's room the next morning, and they videotaped it so people can see. Josh now winds up not being the winner, not even second place. Cliff stayed in second, and Artem, for the second year in a row, is Entertainer of the Year. So, yeah, man, it's awkward. It's cringeworthy.
Oh, God.
Apologetic worthy. And if you watch Jake's video, he apologizes. He, mea culpa, everything else. It wasn't the greatest moment ever at DJ Times. Let's put it that way. It was pretty brutal. So, yeah. But as all is said and done, congratulations to Artem. He had a great performance. Congratulations to Cliff because, like I said, he came in second. I haven't looked at my scorecards. I know he made them available. I probably scored him slightly above Artem. But it goes back to, and this happened a couple times in my years of running the competition, the difference was the opening introduction, which I purposefully put into the competition when I formatted it. That's worth 10% of your score, and Artem nailed it. While
I saw that.
A bit awkward, and and I took a quick look at the scorecards, and that's where Artem made up that difference.
Oh wow!
And I think he won by 10 points, and he probably beat Cliff by about 20 points in the opening introduction.
I did see the introductions too.
And again, I put that in purposefully because I think you can be the most dynamic performer, but if you can't get a point across, and not that Cliff couldn't, but he just wasn't, Artem got up there and he was smooth and he polished and he hit his points, and it sounded memorized, but also personable, if that makes sense. And Cliff was kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And that's where Artem made up the difference,
Holy smokes, Mike. Yeah. That's a crazy story. Crazy story.
It was a weird night. And again, I feel for Jake and I feel for Mike. And it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back from this next year,
No, and I really feel for the top, 3 guys as well, man. That's just an emotional roller coaster of.
Yeah, I mean, Artem being the winner and didn't have a chance really to celebrate it that night.
That's right.
The after party is the winner walks in the room and he's greeted like the hero.
Yeah.
And Josh, I didn't even see Josh that night, so Josh wasn't strutting around like a winner. And then Artem didn't really have that moment. He got the plaque, he got the award in a hotel room with 4 other people.
Oh my God!
Kind of not exactly the way it should go down.
Yeah. Anyway, well, congratulations to all 3 of those guys, man. You got to have huge stones to even get up there. It's not something I could do. I'm not nearly that polished. I couldn't even get through the introduction. So shout out to all 3 of them. Jake, I know he'll bounce back and, it'll be better than ever. And, he'll learn from his mistakes. It won't happen again. It'll be more expedient. He won't try and surprise himself. And, we all learn from our mistakes. So.
Well, and I think if there's any universal lesson there as an MC, it's never
Sorry.
You don't need to be surprised. You know what I mean? You don't. Yep. To me, it would be like doing a wedding and telling the bride and groom, "Don't tell me your last name. I'll take it out of my pocket right before I introduce you." Like, there's no point in the MC being surprised. I know at the Oscars they don't open that, but even then, like the Oscars made that mistake 2 years ago. Maybe they don't need to do that. Maybe the person who walks out and says, "and the winner is," should already know who the winner is. Like, what difference?
What difference does it make from the side stage to the podium?
Right. It doesn't really. So I'm pretty sure Jake will not do that again. So at least he'll know who the winner is when he goes up there.
Wow.
You know.
All right.
So anyway,
anything else, Mike?
Other than that, it was a great week. Tip of the cap to DJ Times for putting together, what is a fun and educational and just cool week all around. And it was great seeing a lot of our listeners. A lot of people came up to us last week and said, "Loyal listener, keep the podcast going," everything else. So thank you all for that.
Thank you. Our egos appreciate it.
Yep. Yeah.
Well,
I think that's it.
Cool, guys. Thank you guys for listening, as always. And we'll be back next week with another episode.
You got it. Ciao.
Later, Mike.